In a million years, no one would guess that this rapper's murder was not only connected to the Russian mafia, but corrupt FBI agents too. Right before his baby was born, Lil Fat was gunned down in one of the safest neighborhoods in Atlanta. What nobody knew at the time is that his death was connected to not only hitmen hired by a Russian mobster, but also a corrupt FBI agent who helped cover his tracks. Lil Fat was only 14 years old when he got signed to Pimp C's Trill Entertainment. By the time he was 19, he had showed up and showed out on a bunch of Trill Entertainment albums while holding down his own shows in Atlanta. This man was set up for success. Unfortunately, everything changed on June 7, 2012. Lil Fat was at Atlanta's Northside Hospital waiting for his fiancée to give birth to his baby daughter. But he would never get a chance to meet his own kid. While sitting in a parked car, Lil Fat was shot 4 times. Cops swarmed the parking garage trying to figure out if the hospital was being targeted by an active shooter, but it was too late. The shooters were gone, and Lil Fat was pronounced dead after being rushed to the ER. He was still only a teenager. The investigation into Lil Fat's death kicked off one of the most insane stories in hip-hop history. When cops went to Lil Fat's house, they found the whole place torn apart as if shooters headed to his crib and just ransacked it. The police determined that Lil Fat was killed in retaliation for stealing 10 pounds of weed. This led the police to tying Fat's murder to a man named Mani Shalpayev. Back in the 90s, Mani was a crime boss for the Russian mafia in New York. He got arrested by the FBI on conspiracy charges related to extortion, kidnapping, and arson. The thing is, Mani had zero problems with snitching on anyone he was with. He ratted on his partners in exchange for protection. But after that, Mani got arrested again for running a stolen luxury car ring that spanned 3 different states. He got jammed up and snitched again. Safe to say, do business with him at your own discretion. Because he was a reliable FBI informant, Mani did less than 3 years and was set free. After that, Mani had no problem setting up another luxury car rental service and was sometimes accused of selling stolen cars. But the cops wouldn't do anything about it because anytime they made a move against Mani, the FBI would step in and tell him to keep away from him. To make it simple, this Russian mobster was basically allowed to do whatever he wanted because the FBI wanted to keep him in their own pocket. He was free to use the FBI connections to bail him out whenever he got into a jam. It just so happens that Mani's biggest customer was Lil Fat, and the car that Lil Fat was killed in was one that he leased from Mani. Lil Fat and Mani had business ties with one another, and Mani decided to strike back at Fat when they had a dispute about stolen weed. Since Mani had access to the GPS location of his cars, he knew where Fat would be and provided the location to a hired shooter who would kill Fat at the hospital. To recap, this is a man on the hook of paying hitmen to kill a teenager, and the FBI agents is still protecting him. And all that is because Mani's FBI handler was big as a crook as he was. He would ask Mani for expensive gifts to keep him satisfied. He pretty much used Mani as a personal sugar daddy in exchange for looking the other way. Obviously, this meant the investigation into Mani reached the higher-ups. While the drug dealer and gunman who directly took part in Lil Fat's death were sent to prison, Mani got off. The FBI investigated Mani's handler and basically cleared him of any wrongdoing, so they both got away with it. And after that, he went right back to dealing stolen luxury cars. But Mani's good luck was starting to run out, and he dipped to Ukraine for a minute before being arrested and extradited back to Atlanta on federal fraud and money laundering charges. This time though, Mani was caught by a joint task force unit that was formed to take down transnational crime lords, which means the FBI doesn't have the same kind of direct involvement as they had in his earlier cases. It's totally possible that Lil Fat's murder might come up in this new investigation, and that Mani might finally be brought to justice for his role in ordering the assassination. The outcome of all that is still pending and is yet to be seen, so we'll see what happens to Mani. But we can only hope that Lil Fat, one of the most promising voices out of the South in the past 20 years, gets the justice he deserves.